Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 263rd of Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Mr. Yishu. He's a freelance concept artist from Beijing, China. And yes, what you're seeing right now is a completely new format to the podcast, which I'm kind of looking forward to do more because it's kind of exciting. I don't really have any idea why I didn't start it sooner. And during this podcast and talk, you can see the process, and he's going to explain how his process is going with the whole art character art design. And you can right now, if you're on YouTube, you can see his art session right now, which his art session and Instagram are also linked down below in the description as well. And with the huge catalog of a lot of cool stylized characters we see here, I think this conversation is going to be really interesting for anyone who's interested in character art. And now with that out of the way, how are we doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm fine. And I mean, I kind of said this before we started recording, but you're actually the first guest I had that is actually based in China. Like, of course, I had Chinese guests before, but this is kind of interesting.
Very privileged.
From the country of China, actually.
Yeah. Very mysterious.
Yeah, and the reason I say that because I've had to, of course, set a time and date with a lot of guests throughout these years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, I'm basically, familiar with the time zones. Like, I know Los Angeles is like 9 hours, 11 hours away from me. Like, the New York time is like, New York, the East Coast, I think is 9 hours away. But the West Coast is 11 hours away from Turkey, where I am. But China is like, I didn't know it was 5 hours away. That was kind of
closer, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's 3:21 p.m. right now where I am right now. But I think it's 8:21 from your side, right?
Yeah. It's nighttime. It's drawing time, man.
Yeah, it's drawing time. Yeah. All right. So
I guess I'll start with introducing myself a little bit.
All right.
So my name is Yishu. I go by something else in Chinese that I'm not gonna bother you with. But in English, my name is Yishu, and I'm a concept artist. I've been working for more than, I think this is the 9th year since I started working in the entertainment industry. And here's my work. I guess there's nothing more to say about it. I guess people care more about your work other than your history, I guess. But I started I went to school for fine art, actually. Actually, before that, I went to school for architecture, and then I went to school again for painting and animation. Then I graduated, started doing fine art, started some paintings, and then I thought it was not very stable, and it's not very good money, to be honest. So, and I remembered I always wanted to do illustrations for games and movies or animations. So I started training and got a job, and 8 years later, here I am now. And I guess the most popular thing I've worked on is League of Legends. So the Soul Fighter things, I made all the sprites and the animations. So that's like one of my highlights in my career. But now I'm a little lost. I'm still working with the Riot Games, but maybe I'll stop doing that soon. And I'm trying to maybe do some comics, so you can see like my latest work are all black and white with the inking. Like I was trying different styles of inking, maybe start doing some personal IPs, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome, man. And I love the fact that in your title of your art session, you had to write, stop emailing about NFTs, please. Do people still do that in 2024?
I get about 3-4 emails about NFTs every week.
Even now?
Yeah. In the beginning, I thought it was like bots, but it's not, because I was replying to one guy. I was like, "Stop scamming artists and get a real job," and he replied me. He was like, "Dude, I'm not trying to scam you. This is a very good opportunity. We're doing a show online with NFTs, and you need to kind of like go register on this blah blah websites, and you need to purchase some, I don't know, cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, purchase a cryptocurrency.
It's very annoying.
Artwork, you have to give me the cryptocurrency so I can buy you the, like, that's the classic scam. Like, and actually right now, even to this day, a lot of people
Mhm.
who make new ArtStation account get spammed with this stuff as well. And
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
worse of that. It even happened to me, like,
Yeah.
which is weird. Like, I'm not a pro artist. I'm not even a junior, like, in my field. So it's
Mhm.
weird. Like, there's 4 exact emails with different,
Yeah.
very, like, generic names. Scott Thompson, John Smith, and they're all the same text. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's very annoying. But what's funny is when the NFT thing started, I actually made some money doing it. I'm not promoting it, but I did it because it's someone I knew. It's someone I was very familiar with, and it's their friend. They were doing like an NFT project, and I worked on it, and I actually made some money out of it. But it was very brief, and the work was really numbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after that, it was all just weird stuff,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna scroll through my work while we talk, and then I'm gonna start
sure,
drawing something.
sure, of course. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. I
you
hope,
can
by
see
the
the
way,
really old shitty ones.
yeah. And we
Go
all
to my
go through
Instagram.
phases. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you go to my Instagram, you can see like some of my really old, like really bad art, and I always like to show those to people. Because like before the podcast started, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Like I really like to show people like we are not like we don't have superpowers, and we do like bad things all the time. You scroll down to the bottom. Scroll down to the bottom. I'm gonna embarrass myself immensely to boost your egos. Oh, that's on my marriage certificate.
Thanks.
That's my wife.
Face reveal right there.
Yeah, so you can see before I was doing like fine art. I was doing oil paintings.
Yes, it looks good. I like the colors.
I booked a show in Germany and another one in New York. I didn't go to the New York one because my visa got denied.
Wait, it's
Because
hard
I was
for
an
Chinese
artist.
citizens to get US
Yeah, I was an
visas?
artist. I didn't have like a stable job. You need a stable job
Ah,
to be able to get like a travel visa to the States. I was talking to the visa officer, like, dude, I went to the States for school and I came back. What are you so worried about? They're like, yeah, I know, but it's the rules. I didn't get a visa anyway, and then I got another one in Germany. I think it's in Berlin or Frankfurt. Yeah, Frankfurt. And I wasn't working well with the dealer, the art dealer. So whenever I did a painting that I hated, they would say it's awesome. And when I produced something I liked, they were like, yeah, this is not what we want. Like, yeah, I'm not going to work with you guys anymore. So this is when I started. I think this is the very first one when I decided I'm going to start do concept art.
is that Triple H?
I have no idea. I just got a random picture from online and I copied it.
Yeah, I think that's he's a pro wrestler.
It should be like a pretty popular pro wrestler.
Yeah.
But I don't know his name. But this is the first thing that I started drawing, and I was just drawing pictures blindly. I didn't know what to do.
These are from what year?
I'm sorry?
These are from what year?
2015, I think. 2016, yeah. 2016, March 6th, March 3rd, 2016. I think I got a job in May, so that's not too far apart. I definitely started in 2015. I probably posted this later, but I started in, I think, November 2015, and I self-taught to be able to get into my first job, which was a really bad animation studio, and I was doing it's like animation for children, and I was designing very very small things like small animals that appear on the corner of the screen for 2 seconds, or like a t-shirt for one of the cats, or like underwears for the cats that only appear for like 1 second. I was doing those kind of things.
Yeah, can I ask you something?
Uh-huh.
Like there's something I've been noticing a lot in artists from China.
Uh-huh.
Like to me, like basically since 4 years ago that I started this podcast, I've contacted around. I'm not exaggerating this number, around 2,200, 300 artists till then, since then.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I realized when I wanted to, invite artists from China is that like there's like a subgroup, as to me is like an internal meme for me, that there's usually that's really super cool artwork you see and you click on the profile is like Chinese username and they have nothing in
Mm-hmm.
English, but their art is really good. So because of that, they get kind of like obscure in the art community and they're not really active. And my question right now is, why do you think the system of education in art is, what makes education system of art so good in China that gives so many good results? Compared to like like other places like Europe or America or Canada, like China and by extension Korea and Japan, but mostly I've seen in Chinese artists, like the art is really like ridiculously in terms of design is strong, both in 3D environment art, character art, anything. And I've seen a lot of them, and I couldn't
Okay, that's a really good
contact them.
question.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really good question, actually. I've given this a lot of thoughts because I went to the States for art education. Like before I was in the States, I was in architecture. So it's basically engineering. It's a little bit of design and it's like 70% engineering, in my opinion. But for art, I've never been to art schools in China, but I have some friends that did. Um, and I've trained with some of those people because they would go to classes before they try to get into art school. They go to these classes like after school classes to prepare for their. They have like an art exam before they can apply for art schools, right? And I've trained with them, and I know a little bit about like the Chinese education system in terms of art, and it's a very different thing. I think it's like a bad and good thing at the same time I think for Asian countries in general. One thing is that like Asian schools are just very competitive. Like we just have a lot of people, so you need to be better to be able to, get into certain schools or get to like a certain level. Yeah, you need to kind of stand out. I don't know if you've seen the video of like Chinese like art students training. There's like they have like stadiums for people to sitting and they draw the same thing at the same time, and there's like a few teachers walking around giving them instructions, but they're learning the same thing. It's kind of like when you look at the video itself, it feels like a kind of like a factory kind of thing. It's like a little not very intuitive, but it's very productive in terms of like teaching you the basics. In comparison, when I went to the school in the States, there's not a lot of talk about like fundamentals. I was actually talking about this on stream just yesterday, last night, because I stream all the time when I draw my personal stuff. I was talking about this. I was talking about like when we go to I went to Maryland Institute College of Art, which is shortened by like MICA, right? It's a school in Baltimore. It's one of the top art schools in the States. But my first year, like my first ever class, I remember this very vividly because it was my first class. I went to this new country and new school. It's like one of my dreams to be like in an art school because I was in architecture. I was very unsatisfied. So I was very excited to see what they have to offer. And my first class was to kind of like we just look at this art piece called "This Is Not a Pipe." I don't know if you know the thing.
No.
It's like an art piece called. Let me. It's just called "This Is Not a Pipe." I remember this very well because it was my first lesson. We were just kind of talking about this art piece. Yeah, this one. Ce n'est pas une pipe or something. I don't know. This is not a pipe, right? And we were just talking about, is this a pipe or not? And some people were like, I don't think this is a pipe because this is a drawing of a pipe. And yeah, just people just kind of arguing about this kind of stuff. And this pretty much set the tone of my art education in the States. It's more philosophy comparing to like craftsmanship, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the art education, I can't generalize, but at least in my school, and from what I heard, it's one of the more traditional art school. It's more technical or something, but we rarely talk about technical stuff. It's more about thinking or philosophy, like art theories, ways to kind of criticize an art piece, things like that. It's a lot of reading and writing. When it's art making, it's always about your thoughts. It's a little bit less about what you see. So, but in China, when you go to an art school, like the entire first year is like figure drawing. It's like really, really in depth, just drawing something, maybe drawing a broom for like 3 months, something like that. So from what I see, because we have a lot of Chinese students at my school as well, and Korean students. From what I see, like Asian students, either from Japan or Korea or China, they're just more technically mature, I would say. Yeah.
That's a good way to say it.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, it does to a sense, but
yeah.
at the same time, I kind of have a kind of like a weird philosophical take on it as well. I think, but it occurs to me if I'm wrong at any point of my speaking, by the way. Like, I think, most like, East Asian societies, they're not really individualistic, like, like Western societies are right now, like, culturally. Like, I'm from Middle East. So Middle East is, I think, from my experience, is kind of like a mixed bag. I wouldn't see it's super collectivist. Like, of course, the governments want everyone to be collectivist, for the good of the government and stuff like that. But most people right now, are influenced by, everything you see on social media and everything there. So it's not really classic, collectivism ideologies anymore that much here as well. But I think because usually in an individualistic society, like, and I think we've all to a certain point, felt this as well. I don't think it doesn't have to do anything with the arguments I'm trying to make. But we always love to, feel known, loved, or, feel celebrated for our individuality and personality, right? So what that leads to, I think, is that, let's say, for example, I'm going to give my example, actually. When I started 3D art, I started to learn Blender, right? So, of course, what I started with was the famous donut tutorial. But the first 2 episodes I watched, I was bored and I was like, I want to make the cool stuff right now. So I just started to make stuff up. I gave up and I just made something to just post. And I can, have 3D artists in my bio return or something. Like, this is just an example, by the way. Like, this kind of feeling could, present itself in a lot of different ways. But for example, if I was in personality was a little bit more like, collectivist and not really try to, stroke my own ego for that matter. I would have just stick with the fundamentals, stick with the tutorials. After the donut tutorial, I would have just, go on with 2-3 another fundamental tutorials, and I would have kicked ass as a 3D artist from the beginning as a junior. But when you, for example, do the other route, the impatience route, that you want to quickly, just show off your personality and identity, not to anyone else per se, but to yourself more than anyone else, because you want to prove that you are something, And because of that, you have that impatience to quickly solidify your personality. So you have this urge and, you hurry in your whole body and anxiety that I have to solidify my identity through these pieces I'm going to make while skipping through a lot of, fundamental basics. A lot of people may say might call what I'm saying kind of ridiculous, But this is just a theory I'm just having, which
No, I'm not gonna call that ridiculous. I think it's I think it's a big, I don't know, it's a big thing about being, just wanting to be expressive. Like everyone has that kind of moments. But like I was saying that on the measure of being like a professional artist, like I had this argument with because like in school we argue all the time about everything. So I've had this argument with one of my classmates. It was actually my ex-girlfriend. We argue about that kind of stuff all the time. And she would always assume like everything like everyone made is like it's a very like like Americanized kind of thoughts. It's like very Western based, like the like American relativism. It's very relative. Like everything is beautiful. Everything people make stands for something. And I was like, yeah, it's true, but it's not like a piece of professional art. Like if you're doing a piece of art as a pro, it's a different set of rules. Like if you're doing that just as you said, you're just doing that to kind of explore your own spirituality or anything. It's like it's valid. It's 100% legit. Like I would agree. Like everything you do, it has values. But when it comes to you're doing something in the industry and you're trying to make a product, I think it's like entirely different thing. Even for fine art, that's just my take.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense, man.
Yeah, I know, man. No, that's actually a good point. But yeah, like I think there should be more to all of this. Like why, for example, like China has such a strong art, like community, like in terms of like technical stuff.
Yeah, we're more harsh in our critiques.
Yes, man. That's wait. Yes, you're right. That's actually such a good point.
Yeah, we're really harsh. Like when I do critiques for my audience, I'm harsh as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think sugarcoating things are gonna help anyone. Maybe for people just starting, I would say, because I teach as well. I would try to kind of understand like the students' psychologies or something. I would understand how they approach these kind of things. Like if they are very like ego or like we're very self-centric, I would be harsh. But if they are very not like unsure about themselves, they don't have the guts to try things, I would be like I would sugarcoat things all the time. It depends on the people, I guess.
Yeah, it depends on the personality, because
yeah
I think a type A personality would really thrive in like under guidance that you provide. Like because like a type of personality is usually super competitive and is determined to always improve and stuff like that. I'm not good with my psychology, by the way, but I just know a little bit of basic like pop psychology. But yeah, it like basically what I'm trying to say, it depends on the competitiveness of that person, the determination of that person as well. But all in all, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, the usually cultures around East Asia, I think a little bit Middle East as well. Not a little bit. I mean, depends on the subject, of course. Like it's not like usually Western cultures that they usually tend to care a lot, about how someone feels, or just try not to sugarcoat them. Like they're harsh and they hit it and throw that thing in your face. They don't care. Just go do it again.
Yeah.
Do 100 push-ups. Do it until it's perfect. I don't care if your body's hurting. Go do it.
Yeah, that's how we're raised, man. Asian parents. That's actually how I started drawing, because I was interested in drawing, I would say, but I wasn't like I'm gonna be an artist someday. I never thought about that. I just liked like mangas, and I like drawing like the Dragon Ball Z characters. And the reason why I got into like really like training was because during one of the summer breaks when I was in primary school, I was playing all the time because I was a kid. It was summer break, right? And my mom, she was just like, I guess it made her uncomfortable. And she was like, "You're doing nothing. You need to go do something. You need to learn something. Like, how about, like, I saw you drawing the other day. How about you go to like a drawing class?" So that's why I started. So that's how I started drawing, man.
Yeah, interesting. And well, here's another subject I actually was really looking forward to talking about the design process, which, of course, funnily enough, for anyone who's watching on YouTube, you can see the design process, the thing that I'm going to ask about, live on screen. And I want to ask you about, how does your design process usually go and you want to start, working on a new project? What does the structure of your pipeline usually look like? And before, I finish the question, I also want to, add a little bit something into it. Of course, that was a technical side of the question, but at the same time, when you're working on personal pieces or you're making your personal characters, in terms of design or storytelling, what process do you have for that?
For me, it's like, first of all, it's different when you work on a project and when you do like a personal piece. At least for me, it's very different. It's entirely different for me. So when I go to like a new, for example, I'm working on Project Out right now, aka 2XKO. I think the first thing that's really important for me is to kind of understand how the visuals work together. I would not try to, like, even if someone, like, on day one, if they say you draw this today, I would probably refuse. I would be like, I need more information, right? You need to send me like, so could you please send me all the, like, the older, like, for example, I'm working on VFX right now. I would ask for old VFX, like the boards, not like just one piece of the final product. I would go look at the process of making that, like, how did they reach this point? What did they try before? Did they do like any explorations in any of the directions that I might be thinking about right now? Maybe I have like some instant, like, intuitive thoughts about something, but maybe they've already tried it. I would like to gather all the information, and after that, I would probably start trying to make things. So for work, it's more about, I guess it's kind of pretty much the same, but for work, it's like they're there. Like, there's information there. You need to kind of dig around. You need to ask people about things, and you need to kind of find out the entire history of things. But for personal piece, for me, it's a very long process. I would always try not to kind of focus on something that's very big or very ambitious. So something small, something like this, I would just try to maybe find like a pose reference, I would find something out of this, like she's maybe resting her hands like on the back of her head, but I could make something like she's tying her hair, and it's gonna mean something to the character. It's gonna be something of a storytelling elements, like she's, I don't know, she's confident, or she's getting ready to get into action. So I would make some connections between this and there's something I'm trying to draw, and then I will try to find kind of stuff like this, like fashion pictures, or just interesting clothings, or like interesting cultural stuff, and try to put them into this, kind of see how they kind of work together. Like, she's going to be somewhat of an action character, and this is like something like a racing suit, so it kind of fits together. So I would just try to put these two things together, and then I would add like my like Chinese kung fu stuff on top of it. She has like a gourd or something, or she has like a sword on the back. So it's very random, but there's always something that's kind of tying them together, maybe like the swords, or I will put some like Chinese kind of cultural twist on the clothing, like these kind of buttons, to make them to feel like it's like from the same world. And then if I think this is something interesting enough, I would go and make something that's more complete. Okay. I was saying I would draw these very simple stuff. Maybe one thing that's interesting to me, or one or two things. I wouldn't think too much. I would just keep drawing. I would just go with the see where it goes. And when I feel like I find something that's interesting, I would try to make something that's more in depth. Like I would kind of consider more about the character, like where they are, what they do, what's their personality, things like that. I would finish it more. So for me, personal work, it's like I think it's something I learned from fine art, from art school. It's like it's not a piece of work, it's more like a body of work. So I would make a lot of these. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see. I don't want to go to Instagram again because showing Instagram, like they cut my recording as well.
Yeah.
It's like it's banned in China, But if you go to my Instagram, you will see
banned
a lot
China?
of yeah, you can't go on Instagram in China, man. Censorship. But
Interesting.
yeah, if you go to my Instagram, you will see a lot of these sketches that's very fast, and it's not very deep. It's not very interesting, but it would come to something that's interesting enough for me to kind of enable me to do like a full character design that's at least meaningful to me, So comparing to a lot of the beginners, like they always try to make the best piece of the world in one go. I never try to do that. I just allow myself to do bad art. Like if you've seen my sketching for this one, like right now it's taking some kind of shape, and it's looking decent right now. But if you've paid attention to how I started, it was a very shitty drawing. Sorry for saying. It was a bad drawing.
Don't worry, I'm not sponsored by anything. You can say all the curse words.
Okay. Oh, all right. That's yeah, that's good because sometimes I can't help.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, my philosophy is like in the beginning, I was the same with like a lot of beginners. I was very worried my sketches or my drawings, they don't look professional enough. That's what I thought, but then later I realized it's not like being professional. Like it didn't mean professional for me. It meant my drawings didn't look like other people's drawings, and that was bothering me. And when I realized that, I was like, yeah, I don't care. I'll just draw however I like. I don't need my sketches or my daily practices to look perfect. They just need to lead me to something that's meaningful to me. So yeah, so that's why I started with like a blank canvas, because usually when I live stream or when I do demos, I will do the designs beforehand to save time. But I wanted to show like a 100% entire process of how I started one of those daily drawings you will see on my Instagram or my ArtStation. And they started looking pretty bad. Yeah, that was my whole point today. That's like a big thing I wanted to share today. Like we make bad things all the time, but the important thing is to kind of try to find something interesting out of it. And because a lot of people they do like a bad drawing and they abandon it immediately. But that's not something I do. I always try to kind of fix it, do something bad and then fix it. That's like my process.
All right. And there's something else we also talked about briefly, before we started recording, which was the
Uh-huh.
whole notion that a lot of these tech bros that they love AI, these so-called prompt engineers, they think artists are gatekeeping art, and they're
Uh-huh.
saying just making art is a privilege, you shouldn't limit us from like shame us for using AI for that, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, this in itself is a huge subject for discussion. Like there are so
Mm-hmm.
many arguments out there for it, but in
Yeah.
here, I think you had something to say to them about this subject as well, right?
Oh yeah. I never thought about being able to do art is a privilege. It's like no one is stopping you. Like, it's like I don't really understand the mindset of those people who are able to say that. It's like it's not like if you're born from someplace or you're like, you know, you can't do art. It, like pen and paper is like they're like super cheap. And also they they say that meaning like art is something that's very hard to reach for normal people. It was like almost saying like being able to do art is some kind of like magical talent, and it's very hard to do. Like normal people can't do it. It's not the case, because a lot of people when they see artists online, because we only post our good stuff, we only post something that we thought were perfect or it was very good. If I made something that I thought was bad, I wouldn't post it, so no one would see it. And that caused like when some people saw artist profiles, when they see like the gallery, like everything looks awesome, like everything's amazing, everything looks effortless. It almost feels like they can do this when they were born. It's like a God-given talent, but it's not the case. So one, it's not a talent, it's like from effort. And two, it's not that much effort, man. It's not that hard. You just need to keep doing it. That's what I tell like a lot of people. Like I get a lot of DMs on Instagram and Twitter, or like, how do you draw characters like this? They're so cool. I just tell them just keep doing it. I saw a YouTube video from I don't remember the creator's name, and they were saying like just telling people keep drawing is a bad thing, but I don't agree with that. I think just keep drawing. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, you know what the thing
Yeah.
is? There's something that I recently truly realized and understood is that
Uh-huh.
everything in life could be broken down in math, like just everything, every single thing.
Yeah.
And
Almost.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but like for example, if someone wants to get to the level of like a high level, like character artist, you can break it
Uh-huh.
down easily, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all right,
Yeah.
step
Yeah.
one, learn the fundamentals, get a course, get a
Yeah.
tutorial, go on YouTube, something. Then after that, apply that fundamental to the 100, 200, 300 pieces and practices.
Mm-hmm.
Then it all comes out to making a pipeline and iterating on it. That's it. But the
Yeah.
problem is most people get confused about the pipeline. And it's not just in character art, it's in every skill that I've been involved in and I've seen in different communities. Coding, chess, martial arts, like art right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same thing. People get confused or just, get really, I don't know. Just I don't know what's the word I forgot, but they basically get really confused on what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't also realize that sometimes they need to gamify their tasks to make it fun. Like for example, if you tell someone who's stuck on a piece of like I don't know fundamental like perspective or anatomy to keep drawing or practicing more, that's a boring answer to them usually, and I get that.
Yeah, it's
But if you
very
tell them,
boring.
yeah, but if you tell them to kind of make a challenge for yourself and do 100 practices up, I don't know, like nose or this dynamic pose or this or that, just make it numerical, make it gamified. Then after you get to that level, You can put them all together and make a hashtag out of it, put it on your stories, and it becomes a wall filled with practices. And that's a really cool thing to look at. It's like you can quantify your practices and the results like that. Like you kind of gamify it. Like in games, game achievements, let's say, for example, collect, like, I don't know, 50 treasures and you get an achievement, collect, or just kill, I don't know, just 100,000 bats or something, Like it kind of makes it gamifies it. And if you kind of combine the topics together, you kind of make it a lot less boring and kind of like a fun adventure to go on, like a dragon to slay, so to say.
Yeah, I've never tried that method, man.
Yeah, because you didn't have to. You already loved what you're doing, and you didn't make it complicated for yourself. You just knew you had to draw. That's it.
Yeah, I just like drawing, and so a lot of people were saying like it's hard. It's not hard for me. It's not. It's like playing a video game. So I never had to do that, but I get what you're saying. But another thing is like I've been playing Valorant lately.
Oh god.
And I realized I need to get better with my aiming, and I was trying to improve on aiming, and the act of practicing aiming was very boring. It's like I think it's because I've tried to learn a lot of things. I've tried to learn dancing. I've tried to learn musical instruments. Like I've tried to learn like how to properly play basketball, things like that. And I guess from all those learning experiences, I just kind of realized like everything is boring when it comes to fundamentals. You just have to get over it.
Yeah, and usually after you kind of keep up with the fundamentals, after a while, you kind of get on a roll, and you kind of feel like.
You start get rewards. Like in the beginning when you're doing,
you feel the flow.
There's no rewards, man. There's no rewards. You need to get over it. You need to get over that phase, and that's what makes like people different. That's why I'm never like a awesome guitarist, because I couldn't get over like the fundamental, like the dry phase,
Yeah, and like actually the subject is really fascinating, because like I mean it's also different, because for me, like for example, I always liked chess, right, since I was a kid. But like in 2021, just like everyone started playing chess because of Queen's Gambit, or how it popped off in Twitch, like between all the Twitch streamers, and just chess became cool again. And I started to play that again, and I got super addicted to it. And the thing is, I still love chess. Like what I mean by that is, I can play 100 games and lose all of them and still have the same passion and just, dopamine to play it again, because the whole process is so fun and interesting to me. Because every game for me is like an opportunity to learn something new, just even a tiny bit. But it depends. For example, if you're passionate about something like that, it's easy for you to just practice the fundamentals as much as you want, right? But if it's something, and by the way, I'm not saying that if you don't, like, for example, like what you're doing, like that, it's not real or something like that. No. Like I love 3D environment art. I love storytelling through 3D environments. I love art, but I don't have that same drive towards it, because I'm kind of in the same beginning stages. Of course, I need to mention that I'm kind of like in the beginning stages of learning all the programs out there, just all the skills required. So I'm not really in the flow zone of that yet. So I couldn't really say. Maybe it changes. Maybe it changes after I'm done with all of those, and I'm just like addicted to that as well, just like chess. But what I'm trying to say is try to find that groove for yourself in whatever you're trying to practice in. Maybe you're someone who likes to gamify things, tasks for themselves. That I'm totally like that. Like I have it like objective list, just like in JRPGs in my life, for every task I should do. Like there's every quest lines I should do, like for everything. That's how things seem fun for me. And
I heard that's a pretty good method. I just never tried it.
Yeah, like it's fun. By the way, when you mentioned Valorant and I said, "Oh God," it's because, listen, if I have nothing against Valorant, I actually like Valorant. I played it for years, but games like Valorant, League of Legends, Dota, like competitive sweaty online games like that, if you go there solo queue alone, it's going to be miserable. If you're with your
I have
friends,
some
fun.
friends to play with.
That's awesome, man. Go ahead, have fun.
Yeah,
If you're
and
alone,
we
it's
don't care.
gonna be
We don't
miserable.
care if we lose or anything. Like we're all like in like in gold ranking.
Oh, nice. Who's your
Yeah,
main?
like I was actually pretty good at like shooting games. I was playing Counter Strike before Valorant came out, and you know, like Counter Strike just like they have a lot of cheaters, and that's why I gave up and I went to Valorant. And like I think if I played like really, you know, like sweaty, like if I really trying to win, I can probably get into, you know, Ascendant or something like that. But I just don't care. Like I'm just stuck in gold with my friends right now.
Yeah, same issue I have with League.
Yeah, we just troll people, you know.
Have
We
fun.
just kind of we try to play like really weird like team setups, and we just troll people. Like we would like stand in a line and have Sage place a wall place like her ice wall behind the low wall, and we just raise at the same time.
Yeah.
We just do those kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, and if you do it with like the sweaty kind of mindset, it's like work.
Also, I'm gonna suggest you one thing you should try, and to anyone who else who's listening, try it as well. I've listened the last year, the last couple of months that I played Valorant, I played it completely without audio, and I'm gonna explain why. Like zero audio. And listen, let me explain. Because I always need to have a game, because I have in my watch later list on YouTube, there's a lot of podcasts and things that I want to listen to or watch. And I always have something to watch while I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning, when I'm I don't know, doing anything, when I'm playing the game. But sometimes I have this OCD that I need to finish and clear the list as well. So I usually just open a video game like, I don't know, League or Valorant or Factory or something, you know, that I can just, you know, watch the video and play the game at the same time. And I did that with Valorant. And of course, the audio in Valorant wouldn't let me listen to the video that I'm watching. So I completely muted the game. And here's a very interesting thing that happened. My aim got at least, I'm just saying this, you know, I don't have an exact number mathematically to say, but at least it became like 3 to 5 times better, my aim. Because I wasn't really paying attention to, there was no distraction with the footsteps hearing anything. So all the attention and energy was on the aim and what I saw on the screen. It's like when a blind person's hearing becomes better, you know?
Yeah.
So one sense gets removed, but other senses get amplified. And I'm not making this up. It actually works. And like I main Raze and Killjoy, but I mostly play Raze like recently. And my combos, just everything was so fluid because I'm not distracted by the sounds or anything. And I just focus on the aim.
Are you playing ranked with no sound?
Yes, actually, yes.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I never, got really super into rank. I think my highest rank was in 2021. I think I got gold, the first level of gold after silver. I don't remember. But yeah, I never really, I only like installed Valorant after a couple of months and I played for like a week or two, then I deleted it. You know?
I got into it because one, there's a lot of cheaters in Counter-Strike. Two, I really like the character art.
Oh yeah, the art is amazing. The style, the environment. I love the environments, the stylization.
Yeah, I'm a little mad their 3D doesn't really reflect their 2D art awesomeness.
I mean, it's because it's a competitive shooter. Of course, they can't do that. They can never do that.
Yeah.
But actually, go to your graphic settings next time and increase everything to the max. A lot of particle effects, a lot of the lighting, the god rays, especially in that India map. I did it once and it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But of course,
I have everything on low.
Sure. Yeah, everything has to be baked. Everything has to be optimized to the max. So of course, it's not going to reflect the same level of art perfection as the 2D arts.
Yeah. Sure.
Most pro players even put all their settings to the lowest. If you've seen their streams.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, to get that little bit of ping and FPS improvement.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty competitive when it comes comes to games. So I need to kind of play with other people to get out of that mindset. I never play Valorant alone.
Never.
Yeah, never. I never do that. It's just gonna make me mad, man.
Exactly. Like, listen, it happened to me twice in the span of like a couple of years. Some people I don't understand. They just get on the game and they say in the chat that I'm a troll. I'm going to throw this game for you guys. Have fun. And they usually pick Phoenix, and they just, I don't know, they just boil my blood.
They try to flash you and all the
Yeah,
things.
and throw nades out of it, get bomb, and give it to the enemy. Like, I don't understand. Like, because of this stuff, like, for example, the problem with rightism, of course, it's not a problem that could be easily, like, fixed. But if I, for example, as a player, have someone teammates like that, I report them and leave the game, I get an AFK warning. And they probably just make a new account and start trolling in it again, even if they get permaban. Like,
yeah,
the biggest
it's
problem
free.
It's the same with League as well.
Yeah, I never played League. I worked on League, but I never played it.
By the way, don't. I'm just going to save you, like, hundreds of hours and just a lot of your mental energy. Just don't. It's a fun game. Don't get me wrong. If you're playing with your friends,
I tried. It's a very good game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like the sounds and the visual effects, they're very. It's made to be very satisfying. Like how you combo the skills, and when you have a kill, it's very satisfying. So, but when you play with real people, it's like another story, man. I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, like I actually rage quit one time, like last week when I was playing. Like,
there's too much stuff to be tracked. I can't do it.
Yeah, like, their teammates are the problem sometimes. You get like really weird teammates. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But let's see what game I recently played that I really enjoyed. Let's see.
Have you tried Street Fighter?
No. I haven't played fighting games in a long time, actually. I used to be huge into them when I was a kid. Like when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I had a Sega Genesis. I was the only one in our house, and our relatives, like cousins and everything, that could beat Shao Kahn in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and I was 4 years old. Like I was really talented at that, like in the old Sega games. Have you played that? Have you played those?
Yeah, but never, like I didn't, like I was a kid. I didn't know how they work. I just kind of mash.
No, but to be fair, I'm just gonna say something. Like in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, I used to just pick Cyrax and just spam the net move, and it was two back and one light kick. I remember some moves right now, and it just throws a net, and it can just do uppercut or high kick or something, and just finish in a spam, just cheese the game.
Yeah, we were playing Street Fighter 2, I think, and Bison's down heavy kick was really bad. It slides forward for quite a bit, and it has a very small recovery window. So when you don't know what you're doing, people can just cheese you with that move. And my cousin was doing that to me, and we got into fights all the time. And we would just kind of start fighting.
Yeah, that happens, man. And all right, there's something else I want to ask you as well. Who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
So when I started, I guess the first very huge art hero for me was Anthony Jones. I don't know if you know him, but he's a concept artist. He worked at Blizzard. He worked at Sony. He worked on God of War. I think he did some art direction work for Riot Games, but he's kind of a free soul. He just kind of does whatever, and he has a mentorship class. But at first, I was very intrigued by his art. I just kind of ran into it on ArtStation. I think he was like one of the top artists on ArtStation when ArtStation was still good. So when people had like thousands or 10,000 followers, he had like 50,000 or 10,000. I think it was like a ridiculous number. So I saw his art; it was really really good, and so I started trying to find him on other platform like YouTube, because YouTube was it was a very big thing for me when I was trying to get into concept art. So I found Zhu Feng or Fenzu, uh, FZD. I don't remember what he calls his kind of online program, but Fenzu and Mark Burnett. These guys, they really helped me a lot when I was starting out, because I didn't know anything about the industry. I didn't know how to make character art. I didn't know either to draw with lines or with patches of colors or anything like that. So these guys were setting the foundations for me to be a concept artist. And then I found Anthony Jones, and he was very good at just talking about, art thinking, not necessarily about art itself, but more like about your mental health as an artist. I think that really helped me a lot, aside from his technical stuff. I remember trying to learn how he did art, like from his Gumroad videos. Just I would watch those videos frame by frame, trying to figure out what shortcut he used, like what functionality he used, or things like that. I think I watched all of his videos by like more than 3 times. So he was really a big inspiration for me, and he really helped me a lot. I was very lucky. I went to Brainstorm in the States, and I actually took his class and I met him in person. It was a very memorable moment for me, and I had dinner with him actually, and I felt like I was having dinner with Michael Jordan or something, Yeah, and then after that, I met more artists, like Jun Ah. He's also like another instructor I met from Brainstorm, and his art, it looked very. I'll write this down. Jun Ah, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's one of my favorite artists. I think he has a really unique aesthetics to his designs. Show his work a little bit. I hope my recording doesn't get cut again. Station. Yeah. He's really like whenever, like I have so many.
By the way, we're still on the Photoshop window. By the way, just want to let you know.
Yeah. I'm trying to find him first and then show
right.
his art on screen, because I don't want my recording get cut.
Oh yeah.
Because they have like AI for this kind of stuff right now.
Really?
And yeah, if you show like a foreign website for a little bit, it's fine, but more than like a minute or two, they're gonna cut. Even for like private like meeting sessions, they're gonna cut your.
Is the thing in China right now?
Yep. It's the only thing I don't like about China, man.
Dude. By the way, like, when I was surprised when you said, like, Instagram is censored in China, I know the censorship is hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, here in Middle East and, a lot of these countries, like, every single thing is filtered. Of course, not in Turkey that much, but in Iran, for example, like, dude, you need to have 5 different VPNs at least to access internet.
Yeah.
You wanted to show his artwork, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You've probably seen his work from League of Legends as well, but his work I think it's very unique. Like, I have a lot of artists that I like, but when you talk about like your favorite artist, he's the first name that popped into my head. I think he's like one of those people like you don't often see, but he's one of those people that treats his concept work as a painter that treats his paintings,
Amazing stuff.
So he's my favorite artist. Another one is Jama. Jama Jurabaev.
Jermava,
He's
I
a
think.
three. He's a 3D artist who worked on
Loved it.
Jurassic World,
But I think as well.
Ready Player One, Jurassic World. His technicals are really amazing. Like I don't know if you've seen his clay work lately.
No, but I know
Oh,
stuff, but I
man.
haven't checked his latest stuff yet.
Oh, his work it's like I feel like it should be in galleries. It shouldn't be in movies. It should be in galleries. It's like way beyond normal like concept art or like production art. It goes so far beyond that. Like I can't I don't have words to like English is not my first language, man. But I don't even have
Same.
words to describe his work in English in Chinese. I don't know how to other than awesome, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've taken his class just because I like his work.
Oh, you're right now.
I've never tried to really like use 3D in my workflow, but I took his class just because I want to kind of talk to him.
Oh yeah. Or I have a suggestion for you. If you have the time right now, I honestly want to encourage everyone to make their own podcast. Like honestly, it's because here's the thing. Like I'm serious actually. Like sure, there are a lot of art podcasts out there, mine included. But I mean, I'm for example someone who's trying to break into the industry. I'm a junior 3D environment artist, so I have this set of features, right? Attributes, right? So as a host, I'm going to give people a certain level of episode quality, right? But for example, if you're the host and you're having your own podcast like dedicated to just art industry and everything, of course, as a host, you're going to be a lot different, like in terms of how the conversations will go because of your experience. So it's going to be unique. So I really don't understand why people say, "Oh, there's already," because I've had this conversation with a couple of artists before who said, "But I mean, there are already a lot of art podcasts out there. Who cares?" Like, I mean, I get what they're saying because they're trying to calculate, if the time they're going to spend is going to be worth their time. Are they going to get followers or something out of it? But I mean, it's not all just about followers and things like that. For me, basically, in a nutshell, I can ramble about the podcast while I'm doing it for hours. But one of the main things for me is that it's just interesting to talk to people, especially from different creative backgrounds. I mean, I genuinely enjoy it. Like, it's really intriguing for me. And not just that, I mean, more than anything else, like imagine there's an archive, a time capsule of artists from all different backgrounds for people in 200 years, for example. Imagine not doing these ideas because there's no money in it. Wouldn't that be a shame?
Yeah, I get it. I get that, man.
And to me, that's genuinely like fascinating, and I don't get why more people are not excited about it. I mean, I'm not talking about my podcast. Like, sure, maybe my voice isn't good, maybe or something. I'm sure that my podcast has a lot of things to improve, definitely. But I mean, other podcasts as well. There's Art Cafe. There's I think Proco has a great podcast. Craftsman podcast.
Yeah.
There's so many cool podcasts out there. There's Art Department podcast. And what I like about this format is that it's genuinely a conversation. It's not like, especially with my podcast, I try not to polish them too much unless the guest insists me to please edit this out or add this or something like that. But I don't do it. Even I made a lot of mistakes during my recordings as well, like silly mistakes that made me look like an idiot, but I didn't remove them as well, because it adds kind of to the charm, I think,
Yeah, and I think that's very close. I think that's very close to my mindset, like just by showing how bad things could be when you draw. I think it's the same thing. I think that's one of the very interesting part because it's always organic, I would say.
Yeah. And
yeah, I think it makes you more of it's more of a human experience.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a very good segue to keep talking about AI.
Yes. And Yeah, what I was saying, like, I think you should definitely do a podcast if you have the time or energy for it, because, like, imagine what we're doing right
I
now. But
actually tried to do it. I tried to do it, but like my listeners, like my followers are Chinese, so I did it. I did it a little bit with some other Chinese artists, but it's kind of limiting, because I have a lot of industry friends that's from the States, or even from from like the Great Britain, things like that, Europe, Malaysia, and I can't have them on because they speak English, and I don't want to translate things.
don't listen, just do what I did. I also had a lot of artists from Iran, which I have a lot of episodes in Farsi, and I don't translate it anything because first I don't have the resources or money to pay anyone or pay for anyone that can do that for me. Just wing it and do what you want. Like, you're just focusing on what the followers, like, if I'm going to cover all my followers or something like that. No, who cares? Just do what you want. And I'm sure there are a lot of Chinese artists or followers who also know English. And if they don't, that's incentive for them to learn English as well. So, it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And it can be as easy as this.
Doing that. Yeah, I might start doing that.
Yeah, man, if you need it, then you'll hit me up. And to anyone who's listening, or if you, for example, there's a lot of like a vacuum of opportunities right now. Like, there's a vacuum of, opportunities in terms of like, making original podcasts. Like, maybe if you're super into creature design, you can make a creature design a specific podcast. Like these, just look at it this way. Like, the podcasts are making sure it may not get a lot of views, but it could be a great thing on your resume. If you're a junior, for example, like me. Or, for example, if you just want to make more connections, that's a great way. But the thing is, you need to understand that you're going to cold email a lot of people. If you don't have connections like me, you're going to cold email and message a lot of people and get a lot of rejections or being left unread. But that's fine. You just have to keep going. Till now, I messaged around 2,400 people right now. I'm not messing. I'm not making this up. I can show you the notepad after our call, by the way. And
I believe you.
Yeah, and that's how but you have to have like a strong vision for what you're doing. Like, for me, like, money was never the thing. Of course, if I can make it, get an opportunity to make money out of it, 100% actually. Like, I might actually move to Holland like in a couple of months. One of the first things I want to do is make a Patreon, because I haven't made a single cent off this podcast, and it would be nice to get support on the podcast so I can buy better gear. At first, I was kind of hesitant about this because I thought it was kind of like e-baking. But then I realized, wait, one of my friends told me, prompting. All great YouTubers do that. All people do that. That's something normal. If someone wants to support your podcast, let them. Why are you doing this? What is this pride coming from? I was like, that kind of makes sense, because it makes me, in return, make more episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to use Patreon as well, because I'm trying to start doing my own comics. So if I did that, I probably won't have time to work, and I would need to feed my family. So I'll start doing Patreon. I'm also planning to start doing personal commissions, which I used to say no to. But to support the comic, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, so if anyone's listening and they know anyone who wants like personal commissions in the style you're seeing on the screen right now, or on the portfolios like linked in the description below, you know who to send this to. And
awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, like, just one thing I was wanted to mention and ask. Oh, there's this question I remember. Wait, you want to say something right now?
No. Go ahead.
All right. So about the AI thing, there's just one thing I'm kind of like, curious about. To me personally, like, I think AI as a tool is not bad. Now, hear me out. Wait a second. If there's a tool, let's name it whatever. Let's just say AI for now, and you can feed it, and it has zero database. All right. So I'm not technical savvy, so sorry if I sound like an idiot to anyone who's listening. But if you could feed the AI your own artwork, and it could generate from those only, and you have a base to start from for your future works, wouldn't that be a good tool?
It would.
Yeah, but the problem is most AIs have been trained heavily on, artworks that's been online. So There's a
Yeah.
genie in the bottle.
Yep. Because yeah, I've actually tried to do that. I'm not against AI 100%. I think I've encouraged my students to use it, like when they have anatomy issues. I know it's not perfect, but when their anatomy issues are really, really bad, I will tell them to throw them into AI and see what happens. Or for rendering, things like that, I would suggest them using AI to save time. But I never used it. I tried to learn it a little bit to see what the fuss was about. But I found it very lacking for me to use, especially on the design side, because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you can have it do sketches for you, and you can make interesting designs." You cannot, like 100%, at least right now. You cannot come up with a good design with AI. You need to do the human effort. But I don't think using AI is a crime if you are not using some other people's art as a prompt. I don't think it's a crime, and I'm open to use it. But my point is, if you don't know about art, you cannot make good work even with AI. It's just not. Like a lot of people were saying, like everyone will be an art director. No, it's not gonna happen, because I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of really, really good artists. They are not going to become art directors because people are different. And being an art director, you need to have a really specific set of skills, you know? And if you don't know anything and you have AI, you're just gonna produce like the same porn images that everyone else is making. Because like everyone, I made this example a while ago. Like everyone has an iPhone, right? Everyone has a smartphone, right? Maybe like a Huawei phone, but they all have cameras and they work really, really well. They work way better than a lot of the professional cameras when we were kids, when we were students, but they are not photographers, right? Because they don't have the thinking process and they don't have the, as you said, the pipeline to create with photography. So even if they have the most powerful camera on hand, they're not going to be able to be a photographer. It's the same reason. Even if they have the best AI in the world, they're not going to be artists or art directors. It's the same with Sora. You're not going to be a filmmaker. If you were going to be a filmmaker, you could have been one just with your iPhone, but you are not. So you're not going to be one with Sora either. That's just my take.
Yeah, definitely. And to me, like the interesting thing is like there are people out there. Like I've seen some Instagram pages of artists who, I think there was this guy who I think had cerebral palsy or something. I don't remember, but he was basically paralyzed his whole body, and the only thing he could use to make art was his mouth. So he was having his like digital pen in his mouth and drawing, and he was making a lot of cool artwork. So when I see like people like that, or see people, for example, make art, people who have disabilities and still make art, even though like the decks are stacked against them, that's what the joy of art is about. To be honest, I know it sounds kind of emotional and sappy, but it's true. Like they're not sitting around saying, "Oh my God, AI is taking our art" or something. No, they have the joy for creativity, and I think as long as that's there, anyone has potential to really express themselves in a really cool, unique way. But if your motivation is going to be money and job security, which I 100% can relate to and agree with, of course, your well of creativity is going to dry very soon. So I get that. So what I'm trying to say, trying to find that inner joy that you had when you first wanted to become an artist. And if you're stuck on the fundamentals, then I'm sorry, you got to set your ego aside and start practicing. And that's it. Like it's not like, as you said early in this episode, you don't have to be super talented or have a special gene or something. Like it's just math. It all in the end boils down to math. Just if you don't
And
believe
I've
me,
always said this to my. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's finished. Go on.
Yeah, I've always said to my students when they get like discouraged, because a lot of people, they come to me. I have a mentorship, by the way. It's like in Chinese. I'm planning to do something in English maybe next year, but because a lot of people are asking. But I've been teaching Chinese students for a while now, for probably more than 2 years. And when they always try to make a portfolio, and they were really working hard at it, and they send them out, and there's just nothing sticks, and they get discouraged. And there's something I will say to them, but I forgot. Me try to remember. Wait, what were we talking about? I'm drawing, so I'm kind of scattered-minded.
No worries. We're talking about, just the fact that, that you first have to, have like, regrow and relearn that joy of learning and creativity that you had initially. If you're feeling like, devastated by AI and everything else, and it feels all dystopian, and, that whole subject, and, the fact that there are people who, even though they have a lot of things stacked against them, they're still making art. They're not, worried about, if like, AI is going to take their job or something. Yeah, basically the stuff like this we talked about. But in the end, I think I genuinely believe there's so many things unexplored in art right now, in media, not just movies or films, even in video games. Because I think video games is a media that's actually like getting attention, like actual attention this past couple of years. And I'm not just talking about the fact that it's making the industry has grown a lot. Like there's so many genres and like elements that haven't been explored yet. So many. And
it's a little sad, because I feel like either like companies in Hollywood or in China, they are slowing down in terms of creativity, I think.
Innovation. Yeah,
it's really low right now. And also, I still don't remember what my point was, so let's come back to this later.
Sure. And so as we can see right now on the screen, we're kind of reaching the final versions of the line art, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's say the podcast ends when I finish drawing this line work.
Yep, exactly. And all right, so we've talked a lot about like art stuff and just different things about art. But now I want to ask something non-art related. Is there any specific thing, a skill or subject, or maybe like a goal you might have that you want to explore and do that is completely non-art related, by the way?
I don't know. I always try to kind of like give people interesting information about China. Because I used to do Twitch streams. I kind of stopped, but when I did, I was very into like giving people accurate information about China when I do. Because I know like there's a lot of like misinformation about China, and it's not very good PR for a lot of things that's happening in China, or happened. But I've always tried. I actually created an account called The Real Truth About China on Twitter, and it got banned in 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
doesn't
I
shock.
don't know. Like, do you have any questions about China? Like anything?
Oh,
culture
yeah,
or
actually.
things like that.
Yeah, that's
Political stuff. It's fine. Like usually, I can't talk about political stuff on
Of
stream
course,
because
no worries. I'm already aware of that.
you need like no, you can't. That's the first China fact. You can, but you need a license to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can mention all the names, you can say all the things,
Anything?
but anything, not anything, most things.
Yeah.
Most things. Like for example, like for me, I cannot mention leaders' names, but if I had the license, I can. And if you there's something you're unhappy about, anyone or anything, you can say it, but you cannot curse. You can't say like bad words, but you can voice your dissatisfaction or anything. But you need a license to do that. You need to be like a media, you know. But we're talking English, so it's fine.
But I'm sure they still have like, algorithms and AI to detect in other languages as well, especially English.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
it's a lot harder for them to do that. But and even if they do, it's gonna be fine. It's they're gonna like my recording is gonna cut out, but other than that, I'll just restart it. It's okay.
Wow, that's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, you don't go to jail for this kind of stuff, by the way.
But you lose social credits, right? By the way, is that a real
No, we don't have social credit numbers.
Like, the scores,
No, we don't have that score.
So that's a meme, right?
It's a meme. Yeah, it's a meme. Social credit number is a meme. Like we have something like if you owe money from the bank or whatever, or if you borrow money from someone, or like you opened a company, you had loans, but you didn't return on time, there's a list for people like that. If you go on the list, you cannot travel by airplane or by the high-speed railway. So you can take the trains, but you only get to take the low-speed ones. And you don't get to buy expensive stuff like a designer bag. No, your card is gonna get rejected. You can buy cars, you can buy properties, but other than that, I guess it's fine. Yeah, there's something like that, but other than that, there's no social security number system. There was something like that. They tried to do something like that a few years ago, but it never got because like when China does something, they always try to do it in one city and see what happens. So that one, the social security thing never got through the experimental phase. So we don't have that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And let's see, like a lot of my questions will go into the realm of politics, so I'm just gonna go ignore those.
No, go ahead. It's fine. It's completely fine. I'm 100% open to anything.
No, I know you're open, but I just don't want it to become problematic, if you're going to later.
No. I'm not gonna get into trouble. Trust me, you can try. You can do this as an experiment. Like we can talk about some stuff.
No, I'm not going to risk.
No. I promise you, the worst thing that can happen is my recording gets cut out, and I'll just start like recording again. It's fine.
Interesting.
I talk about political shit with my friend all the time. Yeah, so go ahead. It's okay.
Well, all right. In that case,
I promise I'll be alive, man. I'll keep emailing you to prove
sure,
I'm
that's
alive.
awesome. That's great. Keep me updated, please.
I'll be alive. It's okay.
Cool. All right. So, in your opinion, like in the next couple of years, what's gonna you think the future of China is getting better or worse? Like in terms of the political climate of the area, especially.
I don't know, man. Do you mean like for like Chinese like domestically or like China's like
both?
I think it's gonna get a little better in Europe, but it's gonna get worse with the US.
Yeah, since I think Trump is gonna get elected again, reelected.
Yeah, I have no idea what Trump is gonna do. He's like weird, man.
It's a wild card, yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny. Like when I was Trump, he was running for president when I was still in school. I was still in the States, and everybody was talking about, like, no one was talking about Trump in the earlier rounds. You know, they just thought Trump was like, he's like a celebrity, and he's crazy, and he's just doing this for, you know, for PR. He's never gonna win. And I saw his speech, and I told all my American friends, I was like, this guy is gonna win, like 100%. And they were like, yeah, no, he said Mexicans are rapists. I was like, yeah, exactly, because he said that, he's gonna win, man. There's a lot of people I knew, at least, that's from the States. They really think in that kind of way. They just don't say it, but they're gonna vote for him. Like, I heard there's a lot of people, like on the outside, they were like, no, I hate him. He's racist. He's sexist. And then they kind of, when they go into the little booth, they will vote for him. That's what I heard. And yeah, I thought he was gonna win as soon as I saw him.
Oh yeah, like definitely the world is going a little bit crazy. Like I think because in the past decade or so, there's been like, you know, so many like, you know, especially in the West, like because the culture in the West kind of reflects in a sense all over the world as well, you know, especially America. And I think because there have been so many like radical, like, you know, social justice, you know, movements, which by the way, that's a whole different subject, which I think they were rightly they had the right to be kind of radical about their movements initially sometimes. But I think because of that, a lot of people, there's been a kind of like a pendulum pushback against it culturally in the past couple of years. That's why, for example, like individuals like Trump can get a lot of popularity, and they need, because like basically this whole notion is about people don't like to be controlled. They don't like to be controlled, which some people have to be controlled, in my opinion. I mean, of course, this podcast is getting political. I love this.
I try not to talk about it too much, but I actually love talk about it. But I try not to talk about it on the social media, because like you get into arguments and you get pissed off, and people gets pissed off, and it's not worth the time, man.
Yeah, probably people usually are really extreme about their ideologies, so it's kind of gets where we are today. But what I'm trying to say is basically, because of this whole issue, like people who are unapologetic are seen as, you know, awesome, charismatic, you know, cool leader.
Yeah,
not just in politics.
Yeah, they're firm, they're strong.
Yeah, it's kind of like anti-culture is a word to use, I think.
Yeah, something
just like
that.
in 90s, which counterculture, yeah, I think was the term. Just like in the 90s with the grunge and the heavy metal bands, just a lot of like that whole movement was in everything, you know, entertainment, like everything became edgy and dark, you know. It's a kind of like I think societal phenomenon, I think. I don't think that's the right term, but I think you get what I mean. And like, for example, dude, in Turkey, by the way, last spring was the presidential election. I think here it happens after 7 years. I'm not sure, like it's 4 years, 7 years. And it was between Erdogan and another guy called Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu or something like that. And Kemal guy was on the side of like the left one, the left liberal type, like this CHP party basically. And the right conservative religious one was AK Party, AK Party, which was Erdogan, which was the previous president as well. And he became president as well. And do you know what was the biggest slogan of the leftist one here? It was all
I didn't
Syrians.
Follow that.
Listen, they literally wrote all over official billboards all over the cities. I mean, I live in Istanbul. It's a you know, mega city. Even in one of their biggest cities, everywhere it's wrote on his advertisement for getting votes was all Syrians will be deported. Like I'm not meaning or joking. That's literally what they wrote in Turkish. Like, to get votes, you have to be racist here. But I mean, that's another whole issue with Turkey, like with a lot of illegal immigration. Of course, there are certain problems, but yeah. That's a whole can of worms I don't want to get into, but that's the leftist, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lefty, right?
I think when this kind of things happen, I think it's something that's pretty good for China, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because like China never does this kind of stuff. Like, I'm not saying like there's nothing bad happening in China, but on paper it's always super PC, you know? There's never going to be something like this. And also, you know, like China is currently like it's like a very difficult time between China and America. So people are a little bit united by this kind of stuff, you know, like they pay less attention to each other. So because if you don't know, there's a lot of like minorities in China as well. We have like over 50 races. So this kind of you know, feud between different races, they are kind of like people's attention are moved from this to this China versus America thing. So it's doing China some good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sharing the same concern.
Yeah. People are less angry about each other. So that's one thing. The other thing, Chinese Gaokao. Do you know about that?
No.
So there's a college entrance exam. So when we go to the universities, say you're in high school, you want to go to like one of the best universities in China, you have to go to this nationwide. It's really nationwide. It's quite spectacular, man. So everyone on the same day goes to the same exam. Like all the high schoolers, all the seniors in high school, they go to this one exam on the same day. The entire country, they go to this exam and they take the exam, and the score of that exam decides which college you get to go to. Right? And it's in Mandarin, right? It's China. The exam is in Chinese naturally, right? But if you're one of the minority races, your first language might not be Chinese, right? For example, if there's like the in the Northeast, there's this like Korean race. They're just basically Koreans. Their first language is Korean. There's also people's first language are like Russian or, you know, Arabic, things like that. So for these minority races, you're gonna get a bonus score. I think it's 15 or 20 or something. It's quite a lot. There's like 15, 20 points. It's very different. Like you go to two very different colleges. And also, yeah, there's a lot of other stuff. Like,
well, there's also an interesting question I wanted to ask you as well, which this question, like this title of this question, and like, you know, part of the podcast, I just named it Time Capsule. So I'm just gonna explain it like this. If you had only like, you know, a couple of minutes, a short amount of time, let's say, to like say all the valuable lessons that you've learned throughout your life in a couple of sentences to anyone who might be listening to this podcast at any point of time in the future. So your audience could listen to this point of podcast 100 years later. Maybe our grandkids might be listening, right? So what advice and just what are the most valuable things you learned till now in life that you could tell them?
It's for me, this kind of sentence is different every year.
Oh yeah, I understand what you mean, but what about
different
now?
Every year.
Exactly at this point.
Now is I wanna is that I realized it's much easier to live if you stop thinking about things.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So, for example, AI is going to take over. Do I still do art? I often ask those people, do you want to do art? If the answer is yes, I think you should stop thinking about AI and still do it. Or, for example, myself, I've been married for 6 years now. My wife is 6 years older than me. So, like, I feel like even in Western culture, it's something that's very unusual, right? But in China, it's something that sounds very weird, you know? But I didn't think about it, and my marriage is pretty good. You know, stop thinking about things. Just do the thing that you want to do, and say the things you want to say, and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, basically, don't try to overthink about the cliches and the stereotypes of situations, and just make your own path and have fun.
Yeah. That's my because like thinking about things takes time, you know. And you could have done a lot of pretty fun things or good things or meaningful things with that kind of time. Because I've seen people like who's been asking about AI for like months. Like every time when I stream, they would ask, "Do I still get into art and do I start drawing because there's AI?" But it's been like months. Like you could have learned a lot about drawing that in that period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And it's basically like
And
I was
also,
saying. Yes, sir, go
and
on.
also, there's a lot of there's a lot of things that like if you keep thinking about it, like
Yeah, and I hope people are not like probably people who came on this podcast, the first couple of the first hour was like, oh, our stuff, and then the next segment is just political talks. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'm not getting bored.
I talk about it because it's made very big impact on me because I went to the States for school. I was very in line with the Western culture, you know, like listen to my English, man.
Yeah, your English is pretty good.
I'm not really bragging, but you really don't see people speak English like this from China too much, right?
Exactly.
A lot of people, they have like really heavy accents, they have weird wordings, but I was very into like the Western culture, and I was very in line with like the freedom, relativism, this kind of stuff. I was very in line with those, but I came back. I really came back, and I didn't even try to stay. My initial plan was to go to school in the States and stay there and never come back, because I felt like it's more of a fitting environment for me. Actually, it still is in some way. I still like to work with Western clients more than some certain Chinese clients, right? But for very different reasons, because like the West, America or Europe, they have a more developed gaming or movie or animation industry, and China, when they started doing like Tom and Jerry, China was struggling with poverty, right? People were starving. So we don't have such a developed scene for my line of work. That's the reason. But for the reason that I came back was that I found out about a big part of the Western culture. The first time I saw how they report what's happening in China, I never thought there could be news that's so fake, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Like you would never you would never believe it if you've been on like both sides. I think it's really a privilege for me to be able to be on both sides to see, because before I really thought China was pretty bad. But after I went to the States, I thought, America is worse. So I came back. I didn't like the culture.
Interesting. Yeah, like, when it's the same frustration you have, like, we kind of have it as well, because people from, like, especially all over the world think that, all right, Iran is just like deserts or we speak Arabic or stuff like that. But no,
Yeah.
we have deserts, but we also have a lot of jungles. We have, like, sea, we have just very different, like, biomes. And also we don't speak Arabic, we speak Farsi. Yes, there are Arabs who live as minorities in Iran, but it's kind of like saying, oh, like saying a Spanish text and say, oh, that's French language, because they use the same alphabet. Yeah, sure, we say we share the same alphabet as Arabic language, but it's not the same language. It's like it's like saying all languages that have Latin alphabet, they are the same. No, it's just the alphabet that, God, I get what you mean.
Yeah. For things like this, if I don't understand, I try not to pretend that I do. I think that's another big thing about myself. Like things I haven't seen, I wouldn't talk about.
Yeah. And yeah, these are all subjects that, could be really put under the magnifying glass and look at it from different perspectives. But at the end of the day, like, people just believe what they want to believe, even if you present them with it. But at the end of
also,
the day,
what you believe, it really don't matter, man. Like if you didn't believe a word that I said, it's fine.
No, they're pretty believable.
No, it's not gonna change anyone's life, man. It's not gonna change your life. It's not gonna change mine. So it's like, it's fine.
Yep, pretty much. And well, we've reached the end of the podcast. And thank you so much for coming by. Where can people contact you if they had any questions?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me again.
Is Instagram okay?
Yeah.
All right. So the Instagram is linked down below in the description. And again, thanks so much for taking your time and coming on this podcast. And as you can see on YouTube, you can see the final version and the finalized version of the demo that you kind of saw on the screen during this whole episode, the process.
It's probably just going to be gray other than this.
Yeah. What are you going to name her?
I don't know. I never name my characters, man.
Oh, all right. So it clearly has like a jug of sake, I assume, and 2 swords. And yeah, so drunken style swords, master, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And yeah, again, and thank you to anyone who tuned in to listen to this episode. I hope you enjoyed this new format. This is the first time I ever do like a share screen type of demo. Like I had in my plans to do demos with previous guests as well, but I never did something like that. So it was quite interesting for me. It was kind of nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And again, if there's any comments, suggestions, or critiques, leave them down in the comment section down below, whether on YouTube or Instagram, or just send me a message on Instagram. All the contact forms are there in the description. And with that being said, take care, everyone, and stay safe. Till next episode. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.